Got the inner wing out of my container. So this is an inner wing that's destined for my car, but I probably can use it on this one. Now, there's a couple of differences between the Softdash and the late Harddash inner wing. That's one of them. Battery tray is different. You'll see on this one over here, this is the original. You'll see that it's square cut to accommodate the square cut of the box. So I'm going to take that one off, cut this one along the edge there, and weld the two together. Other differences: that one's got captive nuts for the EGR valve actuator thingy. There's two captive nuts there. We can reproduce those. That's not really difficult. I can just put some riv nuts in here. In fact, one of the holes is already there. Look at that. So one hole is there, the other isn't. The big round hole that is in this area on the original wing, it didn't actually serve much purpose. I'm guessing it was an air inlet. I don't know. Excuse me, coughity cough. I don't know. As far as all of the fixings holes, they're all exactly the same on this section and also the top edge. The only difference really is then that this earth post on the side, on the curtain, is actually there on this unit. I think also, yeah, this bracket can come off as well. So that's not too bad actually. Now, because this has been manhandled in my container for a while, Paul, some of your spot welds have come apart here. That's not like you, chap. Right, and I'm going to get Steve lined up to paint this as well. So I think that if I was to compare the distance from here to here, it's going to be exactly the same, but obviously the shape of the back edge, the battery box, is slightly different. So if I was to, there's a couple of, there we are, look, we've got riv nuts down here as well. These two holes, just riv nut those up, that's fine. That looks like one of the holes there for the airbag pickup. And then the other thing I'm going to need to do is put the bracket on here and also the support for the radiator. Behave. The support for the radiator, which is that bit there. So I want make another one of those and get that off there. Keep you busy, shouldn't it? And then Steve's agreed to paint this for me, so I've got a litre of paint which will cover the bulkhead works and getting this done. Right, so that's that. But I've kind of had enough of welding this week, and sometimes I think when you get to this sort of stage, when it's no longer a joy, move on to something else. Right, so what I'm going to do now, because the brake's disconnected anyway, there's no harm in me stripping this side down here in order to effect that repair. So all I really need to do is to take the accumulator and the pump out of the way, get that out of the way, get that out of the way, lift the loom over the top. Let's see what's going on. I've not lifted the carpet up in the driver's footwell yet. And the other thing I do need to do is get all of the loom out of the way so that I can paint. And I think the painting is going to take place in two phases here, because we need to paint that repair and seam seal. And as you can see, there's a few bits of daylight coming through there, but the seam seal, and then once all the electrics are back up, paint the floor. And the reason that didn't show up very nicely is because there's no seal or on the door. That can come off there. Right. For the bulkhead side, all I really want to do is because this is in the right place, because I kept the telltale there for the original wing. In fact, it probably could go up a millimetre, but I did put a line along the top here. And I fitted, before I trial fitted this, I did fit that. So I know exactly where it needs to go to. face. Yes. Right, I'm going to go around this side and start pulling all this apart because I just want to do some basic spannering. I wasn't supposed to be doing a weldathon on this car. It's supposed to be basic spannering, and it's ended up being a weldathon, which is somewhat boring. Never mind. That's all the bits there for the bonnet. So I'm probably going to need to get myself a bit better organised. I'm not going to encourage this in any way whatsoever. I'm just going to treat the rust. I'm ideally hoping that we're not going to end up with another situation like this corner. This corner's only occurred because the drain came down, soaked into a sponge, and in fact I've got the sponge. Thank you. I've got the sponge over here somewhere. There it is. This bastard. And it is absolutely so yeah, and that was up there like that, but on the other side. So what was happening then was, because the sponge was sitting against the side, it just basically just rotted its way through. So thanks Land Rover for that. Bloody good work is all I'm going to say. The scrap pile's looking quite impressive down here, I must say. I'll be honest, it's not made me feel any better. Oh my god! There is paint underneath a lot of this surface rust, so I'm going to give it a good vacuum out. Then it could just end up being the obvious bits, which are, there's a hole down here that I've got my birdie finger waving through. There's a hole here. There's a lot of holes here. These are the holes that had all the glass fibre wedged in them. And the rest of it might tidy up. I'm also a little bit worried about, there seems to be quite a lot of something going on around here, whether it's cow shit or whether it's just where there's glass fibre and it's been wedged over the top. I don't know. I don't want to go berserk with it. And also I poked through there, but it's not uncommon for it to rot there, but you can actually see the lip on the edge of the floor there, so I don't think that's gone from the inside. I think that's gone because there's rot crap wedged up on the back here, which is not uncommon. So let's hope. There's a big lump of underseal just come off there. Look at that, lovely. No, sorry, there's a big lump of filler just come off there. Oh, I don't want it to be filler. Please don't be full of filler. Please. Yeah, it's fucking full of filler. Got my finger on the back of the carpet. Fuck sticks. Right, I am going to hoover this lot out, I think. And we're going to see where we are. And I'm going to drill some of the spot wells down here. Let's see if we can't make up a repair section for this. At the moment everything is still intact, cooling system, the lot. I've literally just lobbed the loom over there, zip tied it up to the top there, so all the loom and everything is still in place, but just dragged over and out of the way. One brake line I'm going to need to move is this one, which interestingly is wet. Why is that wet? Oh, I didn't do the brake lines on this, they were done. I'm not quite sure why that one is wet. Could just be a legacy. Someone's also used copper, which, nothing wrong with copper in this country, but I prefer to use conifer because it doesn't do that. But anyway, it's been done, it's been done. Yes, Hoover, or vacuum. No trademarks were infringed here. Fuck it. Yeah, that there, that's carpet. And this here, and I'm not being particularly vicious here, is glass fibre. This is all glass fibre here. You can see it all coming off, look, here we go. someone's smeared glass fibre over the steel, I'm afraid. Look at it all. Fuck it. So the glass fibre was smeared from up here down to there into this gap here, and this is where the support edge is for the floor. And then we've got all of this lot here, and that's all, there's wiring there, look. We've got wiring, so just being careful. Glass fibre. There appears to be a patch here. That might just be a patch. Someone's tried to weld something there. And then, yeah, more glass fibre. And the further down I go, the more glass fibre there is. Oh, good. Oh, that's made my fucking day. Cock. And if I get in here, I'll probably find that, like on the other side, there's not much of the floor connected to the bulkhead side panel. Fuck it. Oh, see, up here now, you can see where the glass fiber's been pulled out. You see a fucking great hole down there now. Oh, good. Oh, that's helpful, isn't it? And all I was in here doing was really washing the, well, clearing up the inside. The front end here, I mean, a lot of this in here, it's probably got some life left in it. This is all just fairly loose. I could probably salvage most of this. That's all quite strong down there. I suspect if I got Mr. Tappy in from underneath, it's going to go. But I think we need to work out where we go with this. It's entirely possible that the customer asked me to make the best I can of this for a future phase. I don't know. I might do a bit of painting. I might paint the inside of that bulkhead because I'm that fed up with it now. Friday. I'm not fed up at all. Yeah, so it turns out that this side is just as bad as the other side. And this is what Softdashes do. And all of this rust up here, I'm fairly sure, is because it had glass fibre over the top. So it's probably reasonable to assume that all of that has occurred because of glass fibre over the top. And it probably was the same person who put that patched repair in down there that smeared glass fibre over everything. And all it's really done, you can see the edge of it down there, all it's really done is trapped the moisture. In fact, you can see the glass fibre all along here and underneath. I've got the end of it there. Yeah. Dear oh dear. Bit of spare time after welding, so I thought I'd have a go at this this wiper rack. Now, this end, which was squeaky as fuck, I've managed to lubricate. So what I've effectively done here is drilled a very small hole on the underside, poured lots of oil in there, and that has largely fixed that. The other side, remember the side that was seized up solid, now someone's already been in here and drilled a hole, which is where I got the idea from, but they drilled a number of holes, but not been able to get this thing free. So I've then drilled a hole and not been able to get it free, and that shaft is utterly fused inside there. I cannot shift it. I can shift it a millimetre and then it won't, it just seizes up solid. So, from my stash of useful parts, never chuck anything away folks, I've managed to find another spindle from a rotten wiper rack and another insert. So I welded that on yesterday, and I can weld the arm on the back of that today. And then we've managed to salvage a Softdash wiper rack There's not many of these around that I've been able to find anyway. So I'll get that back on, and then that can go back in the car. Another thing off the bench. Another big win for the box of shite. There's another one there, you see. So I don't know what these came off, but they came off a very nice off an old wiper rack, because that's the early style wiper spindle with the fine thread, and that's the later style. So I welded one of those on. That'll do. Right, coffee. Had a couple of days off because I wasn't feeling so fantastic, hence the croaky voice. Anyway, it's not going back together, but what I'm doing is trial fitting things, because obviously we've got the new inner wing here, fitted riv nuts where I need to for various components. I have spliced in the back end of the battery tray from the old inner wing onto the new inner wing, made up the rear bracket down here, cut the hole up here, welded in the bracket for the spring. More or less there now on this inner wing, so this inner wing can actually come off again and go in for paint. And then I can fully assemble this side of the car, which would be nice, wouldn't it? I'm going to paint around the side and the face of the bulkhead, and really just finish that off. Trial fitted the wing to obviously make sure that we've got gaps and so forth. I mean, okay, yeah, Land Rover size gaps. But yes, pretty happy with that. It's been quite a lot of work really with fabricating here. I mean, that, I don't know if you can see it, it's not really bright enough in here, is it? But spliced it in along there and along the base. So I've kind of built it back up again so that it's part of the battery tray. So it looks like this one over here. Yay! Probably less rust on it. Right, so that's that. Obviously I'm missing quite a lot of the loom that goes down this side because that's all still tucked up in the passenger footwell. And once I've got the paint done up here, certainly, then I can pull that loom through, reassemble the dash. Yeah, that bit starts to go back together again eventually once everything's painted. But just really trial fitting everything just saves you getting something painted and then having to take it all apart again. It's quite useful having the original wing here as well, because I know which holes were used. So I've got two big grommets that go here and support the back end of the air filter box, which I'm trying to find. They're not far away. They'll be in one of the boxes. That was what these two holes here were for. That was for the washer bottle. These two are for the washer bottle. That's a big fucking rusty hole. And then I've left all the original fixings on here so that as and when everything is painted, I know exactly where each of these fixings needs to go to. Okay. That was that really. A bit of a disaster with the wiper rack because I welded in the bracket, but there's a difference between the new spindle that I popped in and the rack. So as a result of that, that's wobbling around like a dick in a bucket. So I'm going to have to cut this off again. Not cut the spindle off, but cut the shaft out. I've got more of these things anyway, but it can't live like that. That's crap. That was what, 10 minutes wasted out of my life. But yeah, look. Put coats of lacquer on there. Once everything is assembled, that's going to look a lot better. Right, okay, I managed to fix the wiper spindle. So what I effectively did here, because this is all ready now, was I welded a bloody great big washer on the back of the spindle. Really fat bastard. Probably about 2 mil thick. And while it's not perfect, it's a damn sight better than it was. So that's resolved. Stripped the bumper back. So I need to treat that with the rust treatment next, and I can put some paint back on that. It's not actually seen outside the car. So the plastic bumper, the plastic Brooklands bumper, sits over the top of it. But now that's all stripped back, I can treat the rust on it. It's more than savable. Let's lob it back on. Oh yes. And then Steve the body is painting the wing at the moment, which is why it's not here. So I'm hoping that's going to go back on tomorrow. Apologies for the tapping in the background. The boys are doing a bit of work next door. So I've been popping all of this dash back together, tucking all the loom back where it should go to, and putting all the reinforcement pieces back in. Yeah, it's complex because I've not done I've not put a soft dash back together again before. So thankfully, a world of photographs has helped me here. So more or less ready now to reconnect the airbag at the top here. The carpet's just laid in position because I was fed up with it bunched up over the top over there. You can see how much dust as well we've got in here. This thing needs a deep cleanse after this work. I have to get a proper valet on it. So that's that. And then I've bolted up the wing that Steve has painted for me. Thank you, Steve. Just making out little areas where I need to weld on. So I'm going to weld blobs there, blobs down here, blobs up here, fill in those plugs down there, and these plugs up here. That be then welded back into position. A couple of plugs down there on that piece there as well. Then I can start rebuilding this corner once this welding is done. So that's the objective for now. Yes, got most of it roughly in the right sort of place. I think a lot of this yellow wiring runs along this edge of the wing and not along this edge over here. Yes, I think therefore. Right, seat base is welded back in. I had to weld lips onto the base of these and then weld the lips to the floor. It was the easiest way of doing it. That's all kind of exactly where it needs to be now, which I'm quite satisfied that it's gone correctly. Not much happened over there. Welded the wing to the bulkhead. A couple of locations down here. Can't really see, can you? It's too dark. But really just been going through the process of reassembling this thing. We've got too much light there, haven't we? Can we get this thing brighter? Well, we're going to get the torch. Why don't we get the torch? That'll work, wouldn't it, Richard? Get the torch. Torchy. There we go. So at the front here, I've been starting to reassemble a lot of the infrastructure that goes in on this side. I've got new brace bars for the slam panel. I've been tidying up the tube for the cable, handbrake release cable, and then really just aligning all of the loom so it goes in roughly the right place, then I can zip it all into place. And then the wing can go on, I think. Only slight issue I've got with this wing is that the brackets, the bolts that hold the brackets, are just too far that way. I can't see that I could get the wing any further back. It is pretty much central in the location. It's exactly where it should be. Yeah, don't know. I might just have to grind a little bit off the edge here, because you can see it's like the bracket is actually touching there. It's just a bit too tight, isn't it? Doesn't need that. I can fix that. Least of my worries. Yes. Obviously I'm going to schutz underneath here, so all this lot's going to go black once it's done. But, well, it's a bit different from how it started off, isn't it? Yes. It's a lot better. Right. And that's, yes. That's pretty much it then. There you go. Flickering light, I know. Sorry about that, folks. I'll get some more lights coming. Now comes the fun of whizzing this side back together again. Not videoing all these bits because most of this stuff is just putting screws in. The key gotchas on this is referring back to the gazillion photographs you took when you disassembled, so you understand fully how everything needs to route when it goes back and it is reassembled. The one thing that's missing off this car, by the way, I might treat it to a new air filter. I think that one might be just a bit too far gone. Bonnet hinges back in place. I'll video when I put that one back on, but in a nutshell, protect the screen. The reason being is that the spring, or the hinge, when it's unsprung, is at that sort of angle. Now, if it's going to suddenly let go, it's going to go back and clout the windscreen. So you need to be careful of that. And then we've got these two little catches here, or one catch, one U-clip, which holds the whole lot into place. Don't worry about all this shit in here. I started to seam seal, and I didn't like the seam seal, so I'm going to scrape all that shit out of there in a second, and put some better stuff in there, because I want to make sure that this is not going to continue rusting down there like it has done in the past. Yes, so outer wing fitted. There's quite a lot of damage to this wing. It's had a fair shunt on this side here, which has then creased it up here. I've sort of pulled it back out, roughly pulled it back out again, but it probably could do with someone with a bit more skill than me to tidy that piece up there, which, anyway, pre-existing fault. And then the only other bits really now on this corner, so really have used all of the fixings and the bolts and so forth in order to get it all back together again. Finished off painting the floor, need to seam seal in there, and then I can dynamite that, then the under seal and everything can almost all go back in again, and we're finished on this side really. The only thing I do need to do is to make up the lip that holds the door seal along here. I'll get on with that in a moment. It's fairly straightforward. In fact, there's the old one down there. Look at that. Fairly straightforward piece of angle. Might not use that one. Just might not use that one. I'm also tempted to pop rivet it or Sikaflex it or something it into place. I could put a few blobs of weld on there, but right, and the reason that didn't shut nicely is because the seal's not in there yet. Once I've done this side and it's all back together again, it's very, very, very close, then we're on to this side. Now, I have been over this section down here with Mr. Tappy, and then I really kind of just blew everything out of it. The majority of the rust in here is it's very much a surface rust. It's almost like the battery has had a drama at some point in the distant past, and has really taken all the paint off underneath the battery. All of the front end here responded to Mr. Tappy, so really sort of going to head down the lines, and I've taken the mounting out of this side as well, because I wanted to be able to properly kind of look at this support on this side here, because I don't really want to be doing this or undoing and redoing work on this at any point. So the idea is to make this wing as good as we possibly can. Now, the main reason for changing that one over was that the wing that came off the car, if you remember rightly, going back an episode, maybe 2, I don't know, was right on the edge of economical repair. It's not a bad wing. Sorry, it's not a horrific wing. It's just bad, and I think with the amount of surface rust and so forth on here, I just couldn't warrant, the customer justified the expenditure for replacing the wing outright. And that was, of course, before we realised how bad the footwell was on this side, which was very tidily covered up in glass fibre. Thanks for that, chaps. Yeah, so I'm going to work out what on earth I'm going to do on this side in the footwell. I'm going to repair the wing first and foremost, so I can at least get the wing back together on this side. McFace. Yes. It's fairly straightforward repairs up here, just flat sheets of steel. I'm going to try and do it without taking the modulator out. It should be possible. Now, that's interesting, because that there would suggest to me that at some point this has had a little bit of a tinkle at the front end, but there's no signs of damage around there. Very interesting. I wonder why that's done that. Never mind. Oh, I'll tell you what that might have been. I'll tell you exactly what that was. That was me getting the mounting out here. I can straighten that out then. That's fine, because there's no other damage anywhere else. Soon fix that. Yeah, because in order to get the mounting out, Land Rover very helpfully put the top hat section on the base, so that in order to replace the rubbers, you've got to lift the whole body up, or get a jemmy underneath there and lift it high enough that it creates some very localized damage there, but nowhere else. And it does remind me, actually, I've still got to put the mounting in back down here. Don't forget that, Richard, because I took the mounting out down there so I could treat all the rust around the body mounting. And again, it was all surface rust, so it's all treated, painted, happy. Yes.